I'm divorcing my wife of 17 years because I found out her male best friend is actually a former FWB. Posted by you/GuiltyToe9875. 1 month ago, I, 43M, found out that my wife's, 41F, male best friend, 40M, was actually her former FWB, and that has enraged me to no end. Not just because they had that kind of past, but because she kept it a secret from me all these years. My sister, 40F, who is also my wife's best friend, knew about it and never told me. When we started dating 18 years ago, we agreed to cut all ties with our exes. Now I've learned that she's been lying to me about that for years. After finding out last month, I spoke to a lawyer and told my wife we were getting a divorce. Nothing she says or does now will change that. I also took a DNA test for my daughter, 16F, and 2 boys, both 12M, and have gone no contact with my sister. Some might say I'm taking things too far, especially with the DNA test, but there's a reason for it. Her FWB and I look strikingly similar. We're both 6 feet tall, have blonde hair, and blue eyes. Until now, I never questioned whether my kids were mine, but after learning about her past with him, I can't help but feel paranoid. On top of that, her FWB never got married because he claimed to have a free soul. It makes me feel like she just settled for me, and if he had ever decided he wanted marriage, she would have left me in an instant. The only silver lining in all of this is that the house we live in is in my name. I inherited it from my grandpa before we got married. For now, I've kicked my wife out of the house and taken her to her parents' place, where I told them exactly why we're getting divorced. I also told my kids because I believe they're old enough to know the truth. Since then, my wife has been calling me constantly, crying and swearing that they were just friends, but I don't believe her. I made it clear that even if the DNA test confirms all 3 kids are mine, I will still go through with the divorce. From what I hear from my brother-in-law, who lives near her parents, she's a complete wreck and barely eats anything. My sister has also tried to reach out to me through her husband, but I told them I don't consider her my sister anymore after wasting 18 years of my life. Honestly, if the DNA test comes back negative, I don't know what I would do. I love my kids more than anything in this world, and finding out that even one of them isn't mine would break me more than anything else. /relevant comments. Commenter. I don't understand what your sister had to gain by keeping this secret from you. Trust has been broken. I doubt it can be repaired after 18 years of lies. You will now look back on your whole relationship and question everything, especially any interactions she had with her FWB. I hope you get the results you desire from the DNA tests. Don't take your anger out on the children, they are innocent regardless of the results. Ops response. I met my wife through my sister. She wanted to go on a date with a coworker of mine, and somehow, it turned into a double date. That's where I met my wife for the first time, and we just hit it off. Commenter 2. How did you actually find that out after all those years? Ops response. My sister's ex started working at my workplace, and he seemed like a pretty nice guy. So I asked him why he and my sister broke up, and he told me that he couldn't stay with someone who still hung out with a former FWB. He also said I was a bigger man than he was for letting my wife stay close to hers, something he could never do. Commenter 3. And that's why the sister participated in the wife's lie. She practiced the same thing, continuing a relationship with an old FWB. She couldn't condemn his wife without bringing judgment on herself, since she chose the FWB friendship over her marriage. Commenter 4. Listen, man, at the end of the day, it is still your marriage and way beyond Reddit's pay grade, but consider some solo therapy to work your feelings out. I understand your anger and rage, but I think it's coming from a fear that she cheated on you with him, I think? Honestly, why she wouldn't cut contact and hid it for this long is beyond me, like, what was the point of the deception? Ops response. That's what I keep wondering. The only reason I can think of is that I was the safe choice, the stable option. She always wanted to get married, but he was never the type to settle down. He's more of an adrenaline junkie, someone who chases excitement rather than commitment. Update 1 day later. First, I want to make some things clear. I didn't kick her out of the house like some crazy person. I asked for space, and she accepted. I then drove her to her parents' place, which is a little over an hour away by car. The idea of cutting ties with exes was hers. When she said exes, she meant people like my childhood friend, whom I only dated for a month in high school, but somehow not her FWB, with whom she had a sexual relationship for who knows how long. Yes, cutting him off would have probably cost her half of her friend group, but the same thing happened to me when I cut ties with my childhood friend because of her boundaries. If she didn't want to lose friends over this, she shouldn't have been the one to suggest cutting ties with exes in the first place. I explained the reason for our separation to our children. She lied about something important, and I was upset. I told them that I wanted us to take some time apart for now. The house isn't about money. It's about the sentimental value. It holds memories of my grandparents and childhood, and it's where I've made so many memories with my kids. That's why I consulted with a lawyer about the house first. I would still need to pay at least $100,000 to my wife for the house, but I'm okay with that. I asked her about her relationship with that guy 2 or 3 times early in our relationship. She always assured me that they were just friends, but I felt insecure and asked my sister, who knew them for 4 or 5 years. She told me their relationship was like that of a brother and sister, so I chose to believe her. Big mistake. The FWB was never someone who would settle down and have a family. For as long as I've known him, he's always been traveling, doing dangerous things, and chasing thrills. That's why I feel like I was the safe choice for her. The fact that she kept their relationship a secret from me for 18 years only makes me think I'm right. The results of the DNA test don't matter, they will always be my children. Even if the results come back positive, I still want to proceed with the divorce. However, I should at least try 3 to 6 months of couples therapy, if not for myself, then at least for the kids. About the test results, I'll wait for my best friend before looking at the results so I have someone for support. Top/relevant comments. Commenter. Wow, your sister lied to you to protect your wife's cheating? That's cold. Does your sister hate you or something? Ops response. I always thought our sibling relationship was good, I even walked her down the aisle. Commenter 2. Appreciate the update. I was on the fence in the original post about this potentially being workable or not, or being a wild overreaction from Op, but dude, the more I read, the less I can fathom how so much broken trust after so long could be repairable. Wondering if the kids are yours, how often they spent time together, what else she hid or lied about. Decades, like, decades of life, living a lie and now being in doubt about every aspect of your marriage and her personal life. Even if she is 100% completely innocent and only lied about her relationship with the FWB when you started dating, she still forced you to sever ties when she didn't, and she still now has almost 2-ish decades of life with her completely shattered. My only suggestion is, after the dust settles, go find yourself, mate. Talk to someone and make yourself as available for your kids as you can, because at day's end, your life is starting over, and starting it over positively is going to be critical for your long-term happiness and healing. Op adds an edit to his post. So yeah, I don't really know how to start this, but my kids are mine by blood and soul. I can't even begin to describe the mix of happiness, sadness, and guilt I feel right now. But I wanted to give you all an update since you've helped keep my mind occupied and not let my thoughts spiral down into a dark place, so thank you all. So, about an hour and a half ago, my best friend, who I've known for as long as I can remember, drove nearly 3 hours to be with me and help me through this. After he arrived, we shared a drink, and I told him everything. He just listened, let me get it all out, and reassured me that he'd be there for me no matter what. After about 10 minutes, I finally gathered the courage to look at the test results and completely broke down. I collapsed into a crying mess. When I finally calmed down, we started talking about what I should do next. Should I try to save my marriage for the sake of the kids? Would that even be the right thing to do? That's when my friend shared something from his own past. When he was young, one of his parents cheated, but they still stayed together for the kids. And he told me, without hesitation, that it was the worst thing they could have done. He spent years wishing they had just divorced instead of forcing everyone to live in that kind of broken relationship. His words, along with some of the private messages I've received, really hit me. So, I've decided not to try to save the marriage. I will go forward with the divorce. But I also want to make sure that, even after it's over, we can still work together for the best interests of our children. That's why I'll be going to both individual and couples therapy so that we can learn how to co-parent in the healthiest way possible. I'm also looking for a good therapist for my 3 children so that they can begin to heal as soon as possible. Second update 5 days later. I wanted to post one final update on what's been happening after I talked with my wife when she got back from her parents. I've made up my mind to give her a second chance after going through her current phone and her old phone from about 12 years ago. We had a long conversation where I asked her why she made me cut off my exes while she still kept her former FWB. It turns out her first long-term boyfriend of 3 years had cheated on her with a mutual friend, which made her deeply insecure about her future partners having female friends, especially exes. From the time we started dating until I made our relationship official after about 5 or 6 months, she was struggling with those insecurities. When I asked her to make our relationship official and get engaged, she had a conversation with my sister, who suggested that we both cut off our exes. My wife agreed, but my sister convinced her that the FWB didn't count as an ex because they had only slept together twice during a trip to Europe with some friends. Later, my wife regretted lying to me and wanted to tell me about her past with him, but my sister stopped her. She told my wife that bringing it up would only cause unnecessary stress and could even put her pregnancy at risk. Because of that, my wife decided not to tell me but tried to distance herself from him instead. Eventually, she planned to cut him off completely without me ever knowing. However, my sister had other plans. She had a crush on the FWB's close friend and really liked that friend group. She knew that if my wife distanced herself, it would inevitably break up the group, so she pressured my wife into going to meetups where the FWB would be, sometimes lying to her about who would be there. Another possible reason my sister did this was that she herself wanted to keep seeing her own FWB while being in a relationship and didn't want to feel guilty about it. That's the only explanation I can think of. I also asked my wife if she would take a polygraph test to prove she never cheated on me, and she agreed immediately without a second of hesitation. So we're going to try to save this marriage, starting with marriage counseling and other steps to rebuild trust. But first, she has to completely cut off that friend group and block my sister from everything. And to address some of the private messages I've been getting, no, I'm not an abuser, nor have I financially abused my wife. She has been working since our boys turned 2, and my mother moved in with us to help care for them while we both worked. And no, I'm not just looking for an excuse to leave this marriage because of some midlife crisis. I love my wife and my children, and being away from them for weeks or months would be heartbreaking. Top/relevant comments. Commenter. Do you believe what she says about your sister? Has she corroborated what your wife says? Also, lie detector tests, if you're actually serious about that, aren't admissible in court for a reason. Ops response. I mean, it's not that I actually believe in lie detector tests. After reading about them and hearing what others have said, I learned they aren't as reliable as I thought. Honestly, I didn't even know they were real. I always assumed they were just something from TV and movies. But, like someone mentioned in my last post, I should at least see how serious she is about taking one. And she really did seem like she wanted to do it, like she was eager to prove to me that she truly hasn't cheated. Commenter 2. I don't know, man, it's not hard to stop seeing a dude over a 17-year period, especially after your sister got married and no longer needed access to her FWB. When's the last time she saw the guy? Ops response. From going through her phone, I'd say that in the past 4 years, she saw him maybe 8 times. Most of the time, she saw him at parties where I was also present. Only twice was I not there, once because I was on a fishing trip with my daughter, and the other time because I had a long day at work and wanted to stay home and relax. Commenter 2. When was this trip to Europe? And why didn't they keep seeing each other? Ops response. Well, the trip to Europe was 2 years before we got together. The reason she gave me was that his kinks weren't something she was comfortable with. My wife does enjoy small things, but nothing extreme like what he wanted. They ended their FWB arrangement after he wanted to try pouring hot wax on her back. Commenter 3. If your wife were a good and honest partner, she would have cut the ex off per your agreement. This is a BS excuse, and she knows it. Don't fall for anything. Clearly, your wife is skilled at deception. This could be another well-crafted, believable lie you want to believe in so badly that it clouds your judgment. Even if you believe your wife is telling the truth, she could have stopped communicating with him to allow your sister to cheat, but your wife kept her FWB around. You have a plan, that's good. You don't have to do anything immediately, but don't rug sweep anything and just believe a story that could be true. And if it is, your wife is still a liar. Your wife lied to you to benefit herself. Her claim that she was actually persuaded by your sister to lie is no excuse. Your wife might be telling the truth, but the trail of thousands of lies still exists. Make sure your wife understands you don't trust her or your selfish sister. What kind of sister would do that? I recommend going through with a polygraph. Many liars agree to it without hesitation because they don't see it as an immediate threat and will agree to it, believing you won't follow through. This will help you heal and remove all doubt. You know your wife can lie to you without batting an eye. What else has she lied about? What other secrets does she have? Any question about her loyalty is fair game to ask. If you don't verify the truth, it'll eat at you. Don't worry about any blowback from your wife getting a polygraph. She's admitted to lying to you, independent of any circumstance. You need to reset the truth, if she's telling it. It's a consequence of her lying to you for longer than you've been married. Ops response. The polygraph is still going to happen, but I just don't trust it that much. However, communication between the FWB and my wife has nearly stopped, with only occasional messages like happy birthday or congratulations. Calls have completely stopped for ages. Commenter 4. Sounds like she's totally throwing your sister under the bus to get into your good graces. Something doesn't add up here. Ops response. Given her personality, I truly believe my sister was able to manipulate her by exploiting her insecurities. When I said she's a people pleaser, I meant it. At the beginning of our relationship, she would do whatever I wanted, which might have seemed nice, but it really wasn't. I wanted her to enjoy herself and do things she actually wanted. It took nearly a year for her to feel comfortable enough to express her own desires instead of just letting me make all the decisions.